Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. My name is John T, and you've just been pulling the inkwell with just a few cards today. We have 5 to look at time of recording since our last video, which isn't too many, but honestly I'm going to try and keep on top of these videos because I'm ready for the inevitable flood as we get closer to release. We've got the starter decks to see, and last set we had about 30 or 40 cards just released on the app, so any dent in these I can make now is just going to help future John T. And actually, there's some really interesting cards here as well. We have a 2-costed inkable 1/2 for 1 lore in Amethyst, Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio's Conscience. He's a Storyborn mentor with evasive and that still small voice. When you play this character, if you have a character named Pinocchio in play, you may draw a card. A common here with art by Isaiah Mesk. And I actually think this is pretty solid. I think this goes right into the Stitch Rockstar deck, obviously being able to proc and become exerted and then actually be a little tricky to remove because of that evasive. Whilst you're not currently able to play this on curve, meaning a 1-drop Pinocchio into this guy, I still think that's not too bad, because instead I think what you probably do is run this and both of those Pinocchios in an Amber Amethyst deck alongside Stitch, and you're just going to start getting value of them coming out, and this guy is going to be a little tricky to deal with. Yep, I think this is very playable in that. I'm interested to see where the Stitch Rockstar deck ends up. Started off really super strong in the meta and then very quickly got outpaced. It'd be really interesting to see if some of these other 2-drops that we've got from set 2 sort of invigorate it and bring it back to the forefront. We will see. I also think there is an evasive package in Amethyst that's looking very strong as well, with both Jiminy Cricket and this next card, a 4-costed uninkable 2/3 for 2 lore in Amethyst, Peter Pan's Shadow Not Sewn On. Is a Storyborn ally with evasive and rush and tiptoe. Your other characters with rush gain evasive. This is a super rare card with art by Julia Reaver. And incredible art, by the way. Some of my favorite from the set. This would look amazing on a playmat. I know there's probably like 40 cards I say that would look amazing on a playmat, but this one really would. I'd be very fascinated to know how Lorcana decides which art they're going to use. But yes, this is beautiful, and it's a really solid card, actually. It's basically an uninkable Pongo in Amethyst, but it has that rush, which is pretty strong, but most of all, that tiptoe ability, gaining other rush characters evasive, is really quite good, and I think we have to look at this as slightly more of a defensive ability as opposed to an offensive one. At the moment, I don't think evasive is seeing that much play, and therefore you might look at this and say, well, you know, what am I going to hit with my evasive rush characters? But I think actually what the play here is giving evasive to characters like Rafiki and Zeus and Maui, and meaning that they most likely survive into their second turn. Usually, unfortunately, with things like Rafiki and Maui, if they do survive their first rush challenge, they're most likely going to get picked off on the crack bag. It's still a 2 for 1 and still pretty good value, but how nice would it be if they're able to survive your opponent's turn because they don't have an evasive answer for them, and then the next turn you're going to have a little bit more selection as to what you're able to kill. This is a great card, and I am instantly going to go back and look at all of the Ruby evasive and Amethyst evasive, because genuinely this single card makes me think that deck may well be viable. Next up, a 6-costed inkable 5/3 for 2 lore in Ruby, Raya, Leader of Heart. She's a hero Floodborn princess with shift 4, so a reduction there of 2, and Champion of Kumandra. Whenever this character challenges a damaged character, she takes no damage from the challenge. This is a super rare with art by Amber Komavongza. And this one didn't seem to get much love when it was revealed. I think it's pretty good. I think the weakest part of this card is that it only has a 3 on its willpower, and the ability is only happening when she is the challenger. So yes, okay, she's probably able to pick something off quite comfortably, especially in the Ruby Steel package we're seeing that seems to care about these kind of cards. But then she most likely dies on the crackback. Again, it's probably a 2 for 1, much like how we talked about the rush characters earlier, but a little bit more on the willpower would have really helped here, I think. But then again, this also probably goes into a deck that runs things like LeFou Instigator, Shield of Virtue, Fan the Flames, readying her up, and maybe getting a couple of hits off her, or just readying her up and passing the turn so that she's a little bit more secure. Kind of similar to to Raya Headstrong that we had a look at yesterday. I wasn't particularly enthused on that card, but obviously now knowing that it is a shift target for a pretty solid Floodborn, obviously, the stocks rise a little bit on that one. Whether the two of them will see play in a package, though, I'm not quite sure yet. I do think the Floodborn's a bit better than a lot of people are giving it credit for, though, honestly. Next up, we have a 3-costed Inkable 4/3 for 1 lore in Ruby, Blue, Lively Bear, I think. It's not one been translated yet. Pretty sure that's Storyborn and Ally, though, both in German. And it has a common card with art by Barbara and Gia Michelle. And it's always a little bit bittersweet when you see a new character on a vanilla card. It's not a terribly statted card. This is a Ruby Horus, and obviously Horus doesn't see any play, but this stat line is a lot more interesting in Ruby, obviously wanting to be the colour that challenges a lot with characters, as opposed to Emeralds wanting to do a little bit more questing. I still don't really think this will see any play, though, unfortunately, unless we get like a Floodborn Baloo, which is very possible. This could then obviously become a lot more interesting, but as it stands, it's a shame to see such a great bit of art and such a cool character on a vanilla card. So hopefully we'll get more Baloo in the future. And then a 2-costed Inkable 1/4 for 1 lore in Amber, Rapunzel Sunshine. Dreamborn hero princess with the ability Magic Hair. You can exert her to remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. Common card with incredible art from Aubrey Archer. My God, this thing is beautiful. And as Franz from Traverse Tavern so eloquently puts, I hope the foil blinds me. Yes, this is stunning and a really pretty solid card, honestly. Plays well in Ruby Amber, I think. Would relatively fit comfortably in the Stitch Rockstar deck. Probably gets play alongside Dwarves, is that your thing? And is an interesting target for the Floodborn Rapunzel we saw a few days ago. You can shift on Curve, but then you won't really get any value out of her ability. I suppose in an ideal world, you have 2 Rapunzel Sunshines out, and then you shift the Rapunzel gifted artist onto one of them, and then you've got a real great engine cooking. But yeah, outside of the Ruby one that didn't really see much play from set 1, Rapunzel just keeps getting absolute whammies as cards, both artistically and mechanically. One thing of note, as a few people pointed out on the socials, the ability called Magic Hair is basically the same ability as Healing Glow, which is a Rapunzel card from set 1, and a lot of times in set 1 the cards had the same name as the action of the mechanic. So Break, for instance, on the Beast, Dragonfire on Maleficent. Here this Magic Hair isn't called Healing Glow. We assume that's because you have to exert it to have it happen, whereas it seems like all of the other ones happened on entering play. But it doesn't really matter. It's just something that I think was worth noting. And that's it for now. I know full well that Mushu Report has a reveal not long after this video will go live, unfortunately, but this is all I've got. I've got the morning off. I've got to go into work now, but I'm just trying to keep on top of these. We will look at Mushu's card tomorrow, along with whatever else we get through the day. Remember, we will cover every single card revealed on here, so to make sure you don't miss a single one, make sure you've hit subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a like and all that YouTube goodness. Love you all to bits. Until the next one, be good.